let's get to the news.
At approximately 1:30 p.m., former President Trump was playing golf during an off-the-record movement to the Trump International Golf Course. A Secret Service advance agent supporting the front edge of the agency's layered approach to protection encountered an individual attempting to secrete himself in the woodline. As former President Trump was moving through the fifth fairway across the course and out of sight of the sixth green, the agent, who was visually sweeping the area of the sixth green, saw the subject armed with what he perceived to be a rifle and immediately discharged his firearm. The subject, who did not have line of sight to the former president, fled the scene. He did not fire or get off any shots at our agents.
Have you briefed former President Trump on your findings so far, and has his campaign asked for any changes in his security going forward?
I've had a conversation with the former president. We've explained and we've worked with the campaign. The president is aware that he has highest levels of protection that the Secret Service is providing him. We constantly evaluate based on threat. And yesterday what we show is that our agents and our protective methodologies, and there's a lot of tactical assets in place, things that have been put in place as a result of what happened 60 days ago, those elements are working.
Yes, as you heard, that is the Secret Service talking about another assassination attempt against Donald Trump, our former president and possibly future president, the way things are looking. The FBI is investigating a possible attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Shots were fired near Donald Trump, his team reported on Sunday in the U.S. state of Florida. The FBI said that it was investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination of the former president. Now, the U.S. Secret Service agents identified and fired on a suspect aiming a weapon on part of the Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach early in the afternoon. Authorities said in a press conference later on Sunday, the suspect fled in a black SUV and was later detained in nearby Martin County by local law enforcement. Now, Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw said that we have the man in custody that is the potential suspect. He praised a witness who had seen the suspect flee to a car and had taken a photo of the license plate. Bradshaw said that the suspect was hiding in the bushes, situated about 400 to 500 yards, which is really about 356 to 475 meters away from Trump, while the former president played golf on a nearby hole. Secret Service agents who protect U.S. presidents and presidential candidates and other dignitaries in the states had been scouting ahead of Trump on a security sweep when they engaged the suspect. The police in Palm Beach found an AK-47 style rifle with a telescope sight and a GoPro camera in the bushes at the scene. Bradshaw said, I mean, this really is not surprising. This really is not surprising considering the type of rhetoric that is used to describe Donald Trump on a daily, weekly basis in our media. Here, I mean, hell, everywhere. I always tell people I think it's hilarious how in liberal spaces, which is really the mainstream corporate media in this country, Donald Trump was universally beloved and liked by virtually everybody until 2015. You know, according to liberal media narratives, he waited till he was 70 years old to become Hitler. Now, I never personally liked Donald Trump because as a leftist, I don't think billionaires should exist. No. That's Oprah. That's Michael Jordan. And you know, I mean, if you listen to this show, you know I love me some Bulls. I love my Bulls. I love my White Sox, unfortunately. Love my Bears. Even like the Cubs. I got no beef with the Cubs. Just because I'm a White Sox fan don't mean I got to hate the Cubs. Let's normalize rooting for Chicago, folks. Chicago Sky. I am a Jordan stan. Okay? A Michael Jordan stan. That being said, I don't think he should be a billionaire because I don't think billionaires should exist. Not in a world where people are starving. There's no reason for anybody to have $1 billion in a world where people are starving. And Donald Trump, who has always been the clown prince of capitalism, a system that I think is inherently exploitative, especially of working class and poor people, especially of black people. Look at the history of chattel slavery and the way black people have been cheated time and time again in this capitalist system. I was never a big fan of Donald Trump, even when the rest of y'all thought he was a nice guy. Or should I say most of the rest of the people who are in our culture, in our popular culture, thought Donald Trump was a good guy. Okay, I remember what he did here in the city of Gary when he promised that there'd be all these jobs and there'd all be all this prosperity because he was bringing Miss USA and these casino boats here. I remember how he left us holding the bag. I never cared for Donald Trump. Okay, but plenty of rappers did, and plenty of singers did, and plenty of entertainers did, and all the talk show hosts, and everybody in the liberal media who all of a sudden thinks that pretends that Donald Trump turned into Hitler at 70 years old. Those people are fake. Okay? I have my issues with Donald Trump. I think he's a con artist and a degenerate, but I always thought that. My thoughts on Donald Trump, my feelings have never changed on the man for 20 years since I've been a leftist. 25 years, 20 years, whatever. Okay? He's a con artist billionaire. Billionaires shouldn't exist. He's the clown prince of capitalism. Okay, so my views haven't changed. But all these other people who regularly on a daily basis call Trump a threat to democracy and he's going to kill us all and he's going to institute martial law. Dude, you do know that America is the most armed country in the history of the world, right? You do know that, right? You know that nobody, no one person, hell, no army could beat the American public in a fight. Do you truly understand that? We are 330 million people with 400 million guns. We have people with AR-15s and AK-47s walking the streets of every state in America. There is nobody who could be a dictator of the United States of America. And the normalized rhetoric of people claiming Donald Trump's going to be a dictator are people who are just being dishonest or just simply to, suffer from Trump Derangement Syndrome. And I'm just going to say that. Period. A lot of y'all got Trump Derangement Syndrome. He's a capitalist corporate puppet just like all your other politicians. There is no real moral difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and any of these other people you like. Kamala Harris, any of these people. They all work for AIPAC. They all work for the Wall Street billionaires. They all work for the military-industrial complex. Every single one of them. That's why our lives rarely change regardless of who's in office. My life is no real different, just like 95% of y'all under Joe Biden than it was under Donald Trump, other than I'm paying a hell of a lot more for gas and groceries than I did when Trump was in office. But I don't necessarily attribute that to him per se. Again, that has more to do with the military-industrial complex trying to goad Russia into a fight and starting the Ukrainian conflict under Joe Biden, ramping it up. And the price of oil skyrocketing because of it. They cut Russia off, and you had the Gulf Stream pipeline exploded. These things caused a lot of the prices to go up in 2022. Also, the price gouging of the corporations. I've done that story. You can look through the archives on Scott Cannon Radio. The corporations are purposely price gouging the public. But other than that, there is no real difference in most of our lives, regardless who's in office, because there is no real moral difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You say Trump is racist. I say Joe Biden wrote the Clinton crime bill and the Patriot Act, which destroyed the lives of more people of color than anything Donald Trump has ever done. Trump's a rapist. So is Bill Clinton. Ask Juanita Broderick. Ask Paula Jones. Kathleen Willey. Look at all the women. Ask Tara Reid, Alexandra Reid about Joe Biden and how what he did to her in the late 90s ruined her marriage. These people are all degenerates. These people are all disgusting. That's why I stopped giving my vote to any of these people, Democrat or Republican, a long time ago. But I do know that there is a contingency of people in our country who sit there, they watch MSNBC, they watch CNN, they watch ABC, CBS, and their lives have started to revolve. And I think I have a suspicion it's a lot of you out there watching this right now, listening to this, whose lives revolve around this sort of irrational hatred of Donald Trump, who is a pathetic clown prince of capitalism, a system that has exploited all of us. And really the only difference between him and Barack Obama or Joe Biden or any of these other people is that Donald Trump is just more open about it. That's it. The stuff he says are just closer to being nakedly honest about how rigged and corrupt this system is. He's just more openly corrupt. He's just more openly evil. That's it. That's it. He's not any more evil. He's just more open about it. All these people are evil. You got Dick Cheney here saying Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. Dick Cheney literally stole an election. Which y'all accuse Trump of trying to do, which I think he on some level probably was trying to do. Dick Cheney actually did it. Dick Cheney actually did it. And now you got Democrats who are celebrating because Dick Cheney is endorsing Kamala Harris. How short is your memory? How short are y'all memories? Dick Cheney actually did it. He actually stole an election. Unlike Donald Trump. So, who was this idiot who tried to take Trump out? We are starting to learn more about Ryan Routh, or Routh, whatever. And what we may have learned has helped to explain why he hates Trump so much. Routh is a rabid pro-Ukraine activist. Like, he is incredibly pro-Ukraine. Now, how did he get to be so rabidly pro-Ukraine? Obviously, he's been watching the corporate media. That has pumped out nothing but anti-Vladimir Putin, anti-Russian, anti-Kremlin propaganda for the last 8 years, because they want to get the Cold War started back so that they could justify pumping more money into the military-industrial complex. People are tired of losing their kids in deserts, in Muslim countries where they couldn't even pronounce the names of where their kids are dying. And so the war machine, the American war machine, said, you know what? We need a new enemy. And what's a better enemy than one that the public is already familiar with? I know. We'll turn Russia into the most toxic thing in the history of the world now. We'll make Vladimir Putin the worst dictator in the history of the world. Again, you have to have a long memory. You have to have a memory longer than that of a goldfish. In 2011, Barack Obama was literally 2011. Barack Obama was literally joking around with Vladimir Putin. Literally joking around, palling around with Vladimir Putin, saying, I'll have more leverage to work with you after I get reelected. He got caught on camera saying that. Okay? When Hillary Clinton started running for president, her internal polling found that her biggest weakness in terms of getting elected was her and her husband's ties to Russia. Because Bill Clinton was getting $400,000 speeches to Russian oligarchs. And people thought that Hillary was on the take because she approved the Uranium One deal. Her campaign manager, Podesta, his lobbying firm had ties to Russia. They all had ties to Russia. Every single one of them. But again, they needed a new enemy, so we have to make Vladimir Putin the big bad again. And this guy Ryan Ruth, or Ralph, depending on how you pronounce it, was sitting around being radicalized by our corporate media that seeks to start World War III, because that's what these people really want. They are insane. They want to start World War III with the world's preeminent nuclear power, Russia, that has more nuclear weapons even than we do here in America. And so they've turned Ukraine into this super morally just call. Oh my God, Ukraine, the Ukrainians. Dude, the Russians and Ukrainians have been fighting with each other and marrying each other for thousands of years. They are literally the same people. They are literally the same people. They speak each other's languages. They intermarry constantly. The idea that a family squabble between two countries is our business and something that we need to be sending hundreds of millions of American tax dollars to is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But they have actually absolutely destroyed the brains of a lot of Americans to justify pumping billions of dollars into this conflict because it goes into the pockets of who? The military industrial complex. Money. Yes, money. And so this guy's a nutcase. He was interviewed a few years ago. This guy somehow actually traveled to Ukraine to fight in the war. He actually traveled to Ukraine to fight in the war, but said he was turned away because he had no military experience. In an interview that was originally posted by Newsweek, he claimed that his plan B was to stay in Ukraine for a while and encourage other Americans that did have military experience to come and fight in the war. Why? Why would anybody with military experience go and fight in a family war up in the Slavic region of Europe? Why? Why is this any of our business? You see that Uncle Tom, Malcolm Nance from MSNBC talking about, I'm going to go fight in Ukraine. Oh, I'm going to go fight in Ukraine to liberate Ukraine. Negro, what are you doing? These are European problems for European peoples. We are Americans. And even worse, you are black. Literally, when the Ukrainian conflict started, or should I say escalated in 2022, the Peace Corps literally, and I read it here when it happened, sent out a memo to all of its members, telling them that, well, you know, if you are black and you go over to Ukraine trying to help, they're gonna call you a nigger. They're gonna call you a monkey. You just have to be prepared for that. Like, seriously, they literally told, yeah, they're really racist there. So you might get called a monkey and all kinds of racial slurs. But it's okay. It's a part of their culture. And you got black people who riled up about what's going on in Ukraine. And you got white people riled up about what's going on in Ukraine. Like, people are living under bridges in this country, and we sending $200 billion to Eastern Europe and to the to the military-industrial complex. That's really who it's going to. But supposedly in the guise of helping Eastern Europe. Now, Ruth originally supposedly was a fan of Trump, but I guess he felt betrayed or something because, again, of the media's constantly propagating that Donald Trump is some Russian puppet, in spite of the fact that no president in the last 30 years has done more against Russia than Donald Trump. And even Fareed Zakaria had to admit that, but surprise, he waited till after Trump was out of office to say that. So Ruth, really, it seems like his politics are all over the place. His only political donations were to Democrats, but he supported Nikki Haley in the Republican nomination. He basically supports anybody who supports Ukraine. He had a website that any American was willing to go to Ukraine and fight was being offered $1,200 a month. This guy was quoted as a pro-Ukraine source by the New York Times, the Financial Times, and so many other. Like, this dude was a complete whack job. And again, our corporate media platformed him because they are trying to influence us to send more money to Ukraine. It's so ridiculous. So really, this dude was mad that Donald Trump wants to bring an end to the war in Ukraine, which is, you know, again, the fault of the elites in this country, because we are this close. We are this close to World War III. We are this close to nuclear war. We are leapwalking towards it, and it will all be because the people who run our country are greedy and bloodthirsty. Dmitry Medvedev, who is the president of Russia, has said that Russia could turn Kiev into a giant gray melted spot. And he's not lying about that. If we tick off Russia too much, they absolutely could, like, end Kiev, whatever it's called, and leave nothing left. If long-range missiles that are supplied by Western countries and that are directed at their targets by Western countries start falling in Russian cities, this could be one of the most catastrophic things that's ever happened to humanity. Maybe the most catastrophic thing that's ever happened to humanity. And so it really is, this really is something that we have to look out for. Again, as I always tell you guys, please think for yourselves. There's so many non-traditional media sources that aren't trying to actively start World War III, that aren't openly biased. I always tell people, I always recommend people to go to ground.news, which is a news aggregator from all over the world. It literally is all the news sources from around the world, every country gathered in one place. Ground.news. They are not paying me to advertise, so you know. But it's good to listen to what the rest of the world is saying, because our media in this country is literally poison. And they rotted this guy's brain who took who looked like he's about to take a shot at Trump. And again, and you better believe if one of these idiots actually is successful, we might be on the road to another civil war or something close to it. Like, seriously, folks, like, do not let the corporate media continue to poison your brains. I can't reiterate that enough. All of these people are in it together. The Democrats, the Republicans, they work for the same people. Like, seriously, get a grip. All right, folks, when we come back, Kamala Harris is actually talking to black people. So, you know, and you know, you might want to hear what she has to say. We'll be right back after these.